الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters, this is lesson number 28 of our commentary on the principles of Sufism, Qwa'id Attasawuf, by Imam Zarruq rahimahullah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Okay, we reached to principle number 123. So he says here, the soul is naturally attracted to what is suitable for its lawful religious benefits. Thus, invocation and devotion for worldly affairs have been sought, such as the recitation of Surah Al-Waqi'ah to combat poverty, or in the name of Allah, He with those name nothing either in the earth or the sky can do any harm, to dismiss sudden calamities. Or I seek refuge through the complete words of Allah from the evil of that which He has created, to avoid the evil of poisonous animals and to protect the home, and other invocations to dismiss worries and debts, and to help in one's livelihood, such as gaining riches, honor, and the like. The explanation of this is that if an invocation actually benefits whatever it was addressing, then that is an invitation to love it. Loving it is an invitation to love the one who brought it and the one related to it by both in principle and practice, thus leading to loving Allah. If it doesn't lead to its intent, there is nonetheless a grace in it, nothing less than the intimacy of the soul with the invocation of the truth. Entering into this state is more plausible and easier to far as human nature is concerned. It's on this very principle the Shaykh Abu Abbas al-Buni and those who hold his belief composed works on the invocation of the divine names and their qualities. Otherwise, in principle, don't use the invocations and devotions as a means to gain worldly matters out of veneration for them. But God knows best. Allah knows the best. He says it's permissible to do things that suit your soul in a religious meaning. So therefore, he says that it's in Islam demands people to keep on invoking Allah, praising Him with words and stuff like that, and doing things that would benefit you in this life and in the hereafter. But it has to do something in this life. Like what? Well, there's a hadith that says that the Prophet ﷺ asked us to recite Surah Al-Waqi'ah every night before you sleep. I remember that I used to take care of this. When I was still young, I used to always read this surah even if I was so sleepy. So I used to read this surah. But later on I discovered that it's not the hadith is weak. The hadith is weak. It's narrated by Ibn Sunni, who narrates it by Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, that he says, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, anyone who reads Surah Al-Waqi'ah every night, he would never have poverty. He says, and I ordered my daughters to read it every night. And it's narrated even by Imam al-Bayhaqi in his Shu'ab al-Iman, the branches of faith. Shu'ab al-Iman is a great book, and maybe in 10 volumes. And he narrated this hadith there. There's another dua that we recited every morning and every evening. Bismillahi alladhi la yadurru ma'a ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa fis sama'i wa huwa as-sami'ul 'alim. 3 times. Why do we recite it? It's to avoid, to protect yourself from anything that would harm you. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. The same thing. Anything that is bad, that is harmful, that is etc., you are protected from it. So all these are authentic narrations. So you recite it 3 times before you sleep, in the morning and in the night. You recite it 3 times. So he says that if these narrations and all other narrations like that recite every morning and every night, or in the night, if this is something that protects you and makes you gain and have a lot of things like that, it makes you love this recitation because it helps you. And then you love the one that's taught you how to do that. Either you love the Prophet ﷺ, and then you love God Almighty because He's the one who, in the end, He's the protector actually. So if it doesn't go to that, it doesn't make you love the Prophet ﷺ, it doesn't make you love Allah Almighty, why are you doing it? Why are you every morning, every night reciting these recitations? So anyway, even though if it doesn't lead to that, at least it has a sort of protection. You benefit from it in any way. At least, he says, it makes you feel comfortable and stuff like that. So therefore, Then what does he say here? He says something strange. He says this is the main idea of Sheikh Abu Abbas al-Buni. I told you Abu Abbas al-Buni, he's the one who has this book of Shams al-Ma'arif al-Kubra, which is magic actually, and it has lots of things that are so strange. And this is a sort of school. This is a school in Sufism that focuses on reciting things, names and stuff like that. And he gives every name, and he says that this name has a lots of meanings under it, and it leads to so and so. So they say every name. It's not only names. They have names of God. They have names of the angels. They have names of jinn and stuff like that. They have names of. They have meanings of the letters, and every letter, every name, everything. They say they have secrets under it, and then this leads them to actually making some how do you call it? They start making things from these names. It's not only names. The names lead to something else. So all these things, all these things actually. This is the idea of Abu Abbas al-Buni. Abu Abbas al-Buni. And I mentioned Abu Abbas al-Buni several times, and I told you that he has this strange thing that he does. You see, so actually, if you open his book, you're going to find tables with these names. For example, names of jinn or names of Shamshalikham, I don't know what. And then the strange thing that he starts using other languages like what, like Syriac or Hebrew or stuff like that. And many of these strange things that have to do with the sorcery and stuff like that. It has to do with Hebrew, because Jews used to do a lot of these things. Actually, Jews actually used to. They not used to. They still do this. So he says these went following this idea. This is their main idea in their books. But he says, look what Sheikh Zarruq says, or else, actually in Islam, we're not supposed to make invocations as not evocations and worships like praying, fasting, etc. We're not supposed to make them as a way to gain things of this life, to gain money, to gain to call, for example, anything that has to do with this life, not the hereafter. It's not these types of things are not for these things, are for things that are higher than this. Okay. Principle 124. Every name of invocation has a quality derived from its meaning. A required way of dealing with it, a mystery in its number, and a response depending on a person's aspiration. Thus, a man of knowledge doesn't benefit by an avoid meaning. No. Thus, a man of knowledge doesn't benefit by an obvious meaning, while the ignorant man doesn't benefit except by something hidden, whose meanings he knows it. He knows not. There remains the person who is between the two. The number of repetitions established by the law must be considered as a will, as that has been deduced through careful investigations, so that it can be realized according to the Sunnah. As for written formulas and plunging into the science of forms and the like, these are matters acquired from science of nature and cosmology, whose distance from the truth and realization is no mystery. This is why Ibn al-Banna, may Allah be pleased with him, said, leave al-Buni and those like him, follow Khair al-Nassaj and those like him. Al-Hatimi, rahimahullah, he said, the science of numerology is a noble science, but it is reprehensible for the religious and material points of view. Know this, success comes from God. May He be exalted. I said, it's from, he says, I say, it's so from a religious point of view, because the person engaged in it is interfering in the same in fate, and this violates violates the station of trust in God, tawakkul, it's like resorting to cauterization during healing to speed up recovery. This act is a result of a self's frivolity. So understand, as for material points of view, it is a professional or a profession that harms material prosperity. So understand. Now he says here that every name has its meanings, or not its meaning, no. The word he uses here in English, every name has its quality. That's how we call it, quality. No, but the word quality is not so clear. كل اسم أو ذكر فخاصيته من معناه وتصريفه في مقتضاه. He says every name, names of Allah Almighty and stuff like that, or invocation, dhikr, reminding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has its secret inside, it has a secret derived from its name. Or you can use it with something that has to do with the name. And it has a secret in its numbers. You cite it so and so numbers. And the answer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would reply according to the high rank of the one who's reading. If he's serious in his reading and he's focusing, oh, that might be a very high answer. So therefore, the scholar or the knowledgeable person would not benefit except from something that is clear. But the ignorant person, the layman, would not benefit from secrets. He would not benefit from secrets because he's ignorant. But he would benefit from some of the original, he would benefit from some secrets that he doesn't understand its meanings. And therefore, there are people who are between them. Who is this? We have a scholar, a knowledgeable, very knowledgeable person, and a layman. And between them, there are types of people that have some knowledge. Sheikh Zarruq said in his Uddat al-Murid Sadiq about the secret of I think they call it geometry. I think they call it geometry. Does anybody have this understand this? Have this name? He geometry, I think, which means the meanings that are derived from letters. They use it a lot in Hebrew and in Arabic as well. Okay. Oh, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay, anyway. Okay. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay, anyway, look. So, he says, Sheikh Zarruq says in Uddat al-Murid Sadiq, he says that a scholar is the only one that can benefit from the secret of, or the realization that is known from these letters. Okay? Or an ignorant layman person that follows a great saint or scholar or whatever. But actually, this ignorant and layman, he benefits because he's imitating his teacher. Okay? So therefore, he says that no one benefits from something that is not known, unknown. And no one can benefit from something and his ignorance. Okay? So we have these two kinds of... Now, if there is a specific number... Wait a second. If there is a specific number that is made by the Prophet ﷺ, we have to stop there. Don't add. If it says 100 times, it says 3 times, it says 7 times, don't do more nor less than that, because this is something fixed. But he says here, you are supposed to even not change the number that one of the great saints had it, and he said, don't read that. For example, they say Latif al-Akbar. Latif al-Akbar by Ibn Hajar al-Haytami. He says you recite it 4,444 times. And they say Ibn Hajar was a great imam, that he knew this number. Where did he get it from? Who's the first one who did it? I don't know. But how can he give a specific number? Actually, I can't understand. How can somebody give a specific number and he's not a prophet, not nothing, actually? So therefore, you can't say that what the shuyukh gave are like what the Prophet ﷺ did. Now he says, writing books. And when you get the book, instead of reading it, reciting it by yourself, and you do, فأما الكتب والتفريط في الشكل ونحوه فأمر مستفاد من علم الطباع والطبائع. It says that you read a book and you don't know what is the real meaning, and you just start imitating. This is not a proper way. And it's so far from the truth. And therefore he says, Ibn al-Banna, who was one of the old Sufis, and he has a book of the morals and stuff like that, or meanings of Sufism. He says, be aware from and be far from the books of Al-Buni and who are like him, and trying to follow Khair al-Nassaj, one of the old Sufis. Khair al-Nassaj, one of the old Sufis that were real Sufis that used to train people, teach them, and stuff like that. So he says, follow this. That means the Sufism that doesn't have these strange and weird things in it. Okay? And therefore, when you do that, you benefit. You benefit. But when you start following these strange ways of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would fall in innovations. You would fall in innovations. So, okay. Khair al-Nasaj was the one. And Ibn al-Banna is the latest Sufi. I think he's from Zaragoza in Andalusia. Okay. And then he says, and Hatimi is Ibn al-Arabi al-Hatimi from Murcia. He's known, well known. He says that the knowledge of, I think, geometric is a noble type of knowledge, but it's avoided because it's not good due to what? He says it's a beautiful name, but it's not good for the life and the hereafter. How come? How come it's going to be a good knowledge and a noble knowledge? He says, ilmun sharif. And then he says, it's detested in the religion and in the world. Why should it be like that? Actually, this word, I didn't understand this word. Not I didn't understand it. I'm not convinced about it. Now look, he says, he says, qultu. Why? Because for religion, when you go following reasons that are only in the mind, that you think it's a real reason, without having anything that proves it from an authentic text, this makes you depend on it rather than depending on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like depending on things that people say, doctors tell you to do, without having any depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's the type of searching for being, it's a type of doing some things that somebody is new in physician, and he's not a real doctor, so he starts doing things that are not proper, and he falls in a big problem. And for this life, why is it not beneficial for this life as well? Because it's something that doesn't have anything to do with life. Somebody who's following names and stuff like that, okay, what do people gain from him? Does he teach them? Does he give them? Do they benefit from him? It's only imaginations. These are imaginations that people can imagine. Sheikh Zarruq, in his other book, Uddat al-Murid Sadiq, and he has there several things that he says in this book as well. He says, saying according to the what Ibn Arabi al-Hatimi says, he says, for religion, it makes you loose and tired because you're not ready to do anything serious. You're just following these funny things. And it's following the so-called reasons in a way that it's not beneficial. Okay? And for this life, it's because you are hucking your heart with things that are not real reasons. So you're following like imaginations and stuff like that. Okay? And in the end, he says, forget about this type of knowledge. Don't put it in your mind. And I saw many people who follow these things. In the end, they end as sorcerers, witches, people who are not really real religious people. Okay, now principle 155. Okay? Then it says here, principle 125. Consideration of relationships having to do with legal principles occurs in legal matters in such a way that the relationships arise therefore from. Thus, the number of repetitions in an invocation is to be considered because the source of its existence has to be followed or viewed from the standpoint of its substance and accidents. If the relationship conforms to its locus, the effect will take place in keeping with the integral decree. The integral decree. The fixed number of repetition has to be the fixed number of repetition has its basis in the law. For the Prophet ﷺ said to a group of faithful women, tie notes with your fingers, for they will be held responsible and will speak. Okay? He allowed one of his wives to keep count with pits that were in her hands. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu had a piece of string that he nodded with 500 knots and used to keep counts. The prayer beds are more helpful in carrying out the invocations, more likely to lead to the to lead to the divine presence and greater as regards reward. There is a recompense of the number of repetitions for seizing it out of necessity or for seizing it out of the mistakes or the like. For it has a fixed number, and there is recompense for obtaining the reward of an invocation that embraces a number such as one saying, "Glory be to God." Okay. Such as one saying, glory be to God, the number of his creatures. Subhanallah adada khalqihi. Whatever the number might be, with or without multiplication, or leaving the words stand on their own power without multiplication, it has been said that invocations that raise or arise from circumstantial causes, such as the formula of glorification, tasbih, at the time of surprise, are more preeminent than the unrestricted at the proper time. But God subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Bismillah. Okay, now look at this. All this chapter or this section has to do with the secrets of the invocations and stuff like that. This is that the number of invocations is important, and it has a secret there. What is this secret? We don't know. But there's a secret there. And this number, according to what it is, it gives its benefit. And therefore, when the recitation or the invocation, it's done as it has to be done, as according to the numbers, it gives its benefit. Now, therefore, he says that the numbers, counting them in a way or another, is permissible. Why? Well, because the Prophet ﷺ said to his wife, when he saw her invoking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said to her, use your fingers. So we use this when you say, subhanallah, 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 etc. Until you finish. The Prophet ﷺ said to his wife, well, use your fingers in praising Allah because they are going to be asked in the judgment day. So your hands are going to say, oh God, He used to use us to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet ﷺ passed and he found one of his wives praising Allah by using the rosary, right? You call it Subhi rosary, right? The rosary. So he uses the rosary. He found her using the rosary. Did he tell her anything? He said to her, I would tell you something better than that. He didn't tell her, don't do that. He gave her something else better than that. And he found her actually not using, because it wasn't rosary like this. She had a bunch of, when you eat anything like, you eat the dates, and the seed stays there. So she has a bunch of them. For example, she has 100. So she takes 1, 2, 3 until she finishes. And Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, instead of using these types of seeds or so like that, he used to have a rope that has nods in it. Nod. So it has 500 nods. And he keeps using them to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And actually, our scholars mentioned more than these types of stories that prove that it's not an innovation to use the rosary. It's not an innovation. Now, some brothers or sisters say, no, this is not sunnah. Why do you use this? Just use your fingers. And then why are you going to count? Don't count. Just praise Allah. We have numbers. Who said you don't have numbers? And these numbers have a secret under them. You don't just say that. So actually, if you have a wird, you have to take care of it, and you have to. There's nothing that says you're not allowed to use the subha, and this is what has to be known. So therefore, he says that this rosary helps you to praise Allah. You find this in your pocket. Oh, I say, yeah, let me just praise Allah. SubhanAllah, 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 SubhanAllah. The rosary encourages you to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it makes you stay stuck to that type of, not like somebody says, yeah, that's an innovation, bid'ah, you're not supposed to do that. Okay, dear brother, do you praise Allah? Well, when I want to praise, I praise Him. No, do you have a specific wird? I don't. Okay, therefore go and work on yourself instead of telling us that this is an innovation. Many people of these types of things that say innovation, they don't do anything. I know somebody like that. When you tell them, did you fast? Innovation. Did you sow? Innovation. And then what do you do? How do you worship God? He doesn't worship God. He just prays and fasts Ramadan and that's it. So it says, and it helps you always work and it helps you focus on what you're reading, etc. He mentioned several things that I read it in English. And he says that there are some invocations that give you a main meaning because they give you lots of reward, like Subhanallah, and if you repeat it 3 times as it's sunnah in the morning and the night, this gives a big benefit. it's said that reasons, yeah, the reasons that has the invocations that have a reason, like the when you enter the bathroom, when you come out of the bathroom, when you enter the masjid, when you come out of the masjid, when you lots of things when you do them because there's something there. It's better than praising Allah just without a number or without a reason. Okay, so therefore everything has its time to be done. Has its time to be done. And after this, we are going to enter to chapter or section number 12. Section number 12. This has to. Okay. Oh. Now we're going to enter to what I call in Arab, in English. One of the brothers told me, "What are these things are you're speaking about?" Gospel songs. Gospel songs. So Sufis are known by doing gospel songs. Gospel songs? This is a Christian word. Yeah, I just used it because it's the same meaning. Gospel songs means the religious songs that you do or you read in the church. And I don't mean, of course, this because church, we don't have any church in Islam, but I mean that gospel songs are the songs that Sufis do or use to praise Allah, praise the Prophet ﷺ, show that you miss God Almighty, if I can use this word, miss God, or you love the Prophet ﷺ. In Arabic, we call them al-amdah, and stuff like that. This is what we're going to speak tomorrow, inshallah. Thank you very much for being patient with me. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.